Anyway, Viraj started playing golf when he was around 8 years old. And that was, like you mentioned, was the D category. And remember, he never really had any idea that he would play golf. We must credit it to the membership at the Tolly, where we would go to take the kids for swimming. And then one day he wanted to play some golf, and you helped us, get a club that was cut into a smaller size, and that's how we started off. And we were actually very privileged that you could take him on at Pro Touch. At that time, I don't think it was even Pro Touch, but you took him on and guided him through the
elite
put him at the program and guided him through it.
So how did he manage? I mean, initial days, we'll go little later. Mr. Mishra, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So, Anshul is about 11 years old now, and he's obviously going also along. He wants to be a golfer. So a lot of parents would want to know, at the age of 11, 12, how you manage to manage his time, because he was already playing the circuit. So how did he manage his school? So 3 parts: school, golf, and studies.
Actually, Viraj, when the initial years from class 1 to class 6, he was in Don Bosco School, Paksaka. And then by the time he was in class 6, I think the pressure of studies started, mounting, and Don Bosco being a very rigid, academically very rigid school, we had problems because by which time he was already playing the national circuit, and he would take off some 7 to 8 weeks from school to play the tournaments all over the country. And he was doing well because he was consistently coming in the top 3. So we knew he wanted to pursue golf. So what we did was we moved him to a less demanding school called Akshar. They were very, very, very supportive. They let him play as much golf as he wanted. He was given leave. Also because I think he was performing well in golf. And he managed his studies during, the off season. He had a good balance of studies and golf, and that's what teachers, liked about him. And that is one of the reasons why the school also supported him, I think.
I think it's important here also for all of us as parents, studies is important. It cannot be a substitute for playing golf or sport only. That is where I think a parent comes in. You have to give the support.
At least till class 10 or 12, I think the studies has to go alongside golf to a certain extent. He might not get 80 or 90%, but he should be getting, a reasonably average score. Yeah.
And he should be putting in that effort.
Yes, that's more important.
And the parents have to individually put in that effort to motivate the child to study. It's always very difficult because, sport is tiring. You come back tired. But then you need to support your child, sit with him with his studies, coordinate with teachers.
And make it a little less difficult for him. I think the parent's role is to make the child's, the balance of sport and studies, less difficult. Because if he's playing on the course all through the day, maybe one of the parent, a mother or father could...
Right. Mr. Mishra, I would like you to, ask some questions because, Anshul is at a stage where Viraj was maybe 8 years back. So what would you like to ask?
Can I ask at what age did you...
In fact, at what age did you take a call for Viraj that he will be turning a professional?
We actually left it. See, we left the thing of Viraj turning professional to him. They know there will come a time when he will himself know that he has to turn professional or should turn professional.
Actually, thankfully for us, Viraj, being a very disciplined and committed child, when he was in category B, he was winning against category A student. When he was in category A, he was winning against amateur, kids. So
Okay.
he was ahead of. So then you know that there is some potential. It's easier for us to take a call then. Even for the coach and for the child, it's easier because when he sees he's able to compete against better player in the next level, it becomes easier to take a call.
But saying that, I guess the very important thing for the child to do is, when you really, Mr. Mishra, Indrajit speaks very highly of Anshul and what he's doing, how he's working at his game. The most
He's got a long way to go.
Absolutely. Even Viraj has a long way to go. These are early days, really. If you think Anshul is 12, Viraj is 12 years older, but there's a lot more that he should work on and achieve. But the most important thing is he's still very young. Anshul is still very young. He should have an opportunity to live his childhood. He should have an opportunity to play his golf. He should enjoy it. Most important is enjoy it. Like we always told Viraj, if the fun comes out of the game, you're really not keen, you don't want to be at it, then let it be. So we actually never put a pressure on him to go out and win tournaments. Because you see, one thing very early, that a child never wants to go and play badly. He wants to go and win. He wants to go and give his best. Now, as long as he's giving his best, you should encourage him. Don't, pressurize a child. I'm not mentioning specifically to Anshul, but I would tell all parents, don't pressurize your child to go and say, practice so much, do this, do that, come back, study for 3 hours, no video games, I will not give you anything to, eat only healthy. I don't think that's the answer. He has to live a little bit of his own childhood too. So you will see the child's interest, you will see his dedication, and if you are involved with the child, automatically you will get the feeling that you need to progress more and different.
Right. So, okay, Mr. Madappa, can you just talk about? There's a question. What kind of sacrifices does parents have to make, both mother and father?
Indrajit, you see, I think no parent makes a sacrifice. We make a choice. Now, the choices for us was that we needed one more very important thing. I think we needed to live as disciplined as our life as we expected a child to live. So if we expected him to get to bed and get his 8 hours of sleep, it's not that we got to bed at 7:30 like he did. But it was not that we went out and partied and expected a child to, have the same kind of focus. If we expected the child to eat healthy, we wanted food that was healthy for us and we made healthy food. I, was always a little more hands-on. So I would actually take Viraj to the golf course. There were almost every day that he wanted to go, it was 4:45, 4:50, he would be by my bedside. I would still actually be sleeping. He'd wake up and say, Dad, let's go to the course. And initially I would try and dissuade him. I said, "Nahi, aao, aadha ghanta, let us go after 5:30. And I remember there were days when we had gone, you won't believe, in Tollyganj Club at 5:30 in the morning and couldn't see 10 yards from the tee box. But he would still want to go. So now that's not a sacrifice. It was my choice to go. I went. I would spend time with him in the morning, take him to school. He would have his breakfast in the car. And the other thing I did was I maintained his progress through from, when he was 8, 9 years old. So I have his statistics of every competitive tournament that he has played, every competitive round that he has played since he was 10 years old. Now he maintains it himself, but I did that.
Right. So
yes.
No. So I always talk about him going so early in the morning before school and his commitment. So I would want you to repeat once more. If you had to really wake him up in the morning, or he was waking you up, because parents need to understand that the fire has to come from the children and not from the parents.
Absolutely.
So just tell us a little bit about, how he would be up in the mornings and, straight from school coming to golf. So just a little bit from your mouth, I think would sound a lot better.
Actually, for us, our daughter Bhavna would go for swimming in the morning to Tollygunge Club. So both Viraj and Bhavna would leave home. We would take them to Tollygunge Club at 5:30 in the morning. Viraj would practice golf. Bhavna would swim. Then after that 1.5 hours of practice, they would eat breakfast in the car and go to the schools. Lunch would be sent to school in the afternoon. Viraj would be picked up from school and he would change in the car and go to Tollygunge Club to practice. Finish practice, come home, do a little bit of his studies, whatever was needed, and then go to bed. He was a very structured, he had a very structured lifestyle. He liked it that way and he followed it, himself. Not that we pushed him, it was, from within him that came. So it was easy for us as parents to support him because his lifestyle has always been very structured.
Right. Mr. Mishra, would you like to ask anything?
Yeah, surely. Can you take us, Viraj went through this US college golf. Can you take
I couldn't hear.
US college.
Oh, so he's asking about his college golf.
Okay.
So, what are the advantages, disadvantages?
You see, we can only talk about our personal experience about this. Viraj, because of his performance in India, and what we also did was we were able to work with Indrajit and pick up a few of the tournaments in the US, which Indrajit thought that Viraj should go and play just to feel, how it is to compete for this international competition. And there are many such competitions, but I think it's important to pick up the ones that really make sense. Like you have the Callaway World Juniors and you have the US Kids World Juniors. Nowadays, there are another 7-8 of them which are actually not as competitive. And believe me, it's a lot of money wasted and the field is very weak. But it's best if you, speak with someone like Indrajit or a coach that you have, and they will guide you on which tournaments to play. Even in Asia, there are very good tournaments that happen in Thailand and Malaysia and Singapore where the fields are much larger. So Viraj played well in these tournaments. Not only that, because he played well, he got invited to play the World Juniors. He got invited to play some of the very elite junior tournaments. Again, he did reasonably well there. Because of this, what happened was we received a lot of inquiries from international coaches.
We didn't have to apply. They approached us actually.
They approached us and then we started evaluating. I must say that, Indrajit was not very happy that we go to the US, but the deal was just way too good for us.
And Viraj wanted to experience that.
Playing in the US because PGA was his ultimate goal. So finally we went, saw some colleges and he joined one of the universities there. Great school, US playing golf. But unfortunately what happened was that in US, when you go to play college golf, you are a part of a team. You need to compete against other players. You need to win a spot on the team. And the whole system is that they manage your golf. They don't actually coach you. They don't give you that kind of a thing that we expect to get from, coaches in India. So finally what happened after 3 and over and above that, they actually are very strict about studies. You have to get a particular minimum GPA. Now, in US, schools are divided among Division 1, Division 2 and Division 3 schools. Division 1 schools, also there are the better schools and the not so good schools. So typically you want to play golf, at a great university, then you should go to a good Division 1 school. A good Division 1 school will expect you to get a good score even in education. It becomes very tough because there, think of it, here your child has you, but there he has to do everything on his own. He has to manage his food, he has to manage his studies, he has to manage his golf, his clothes, washing, everything. And unfortunately, that safety net that he has of his coach in India, who you can just pick up the phone and call, or call dad or mom, is not there. So what tends to happen is that it becomes very tough and you're not able to give the same kind of attention to your golf. And somehow after 2 months,
improve on his golf.
After 2 months, he realized he was really not improving on his golf. He took a call immediately and decided to quit college in the US after the semester and came back. He did well in the semester, but he realized that his goal in life was to play golf at its most competitive level, and that was not happening in America. But that's a personal experience. There are kids who have gone to the US, and some of them are actually playing golf on the PGA circuit PGA circuit in India now.
Okay, so there's a question from the viewers that how do you? Okay, so the question is that if a child does not want to go for practice for 4 or 5 classes, should we allow or send him or force him to go? So obviously there's an obvious answer, but if someone doesn't want to go and practice, what do you do?
See, if he is very, very young, then I think a parent has to be around to, kind of go and practice a little bit. But after a certain age, the time is 11, 12, 13, I think if he doesn't want to go and practice, I don't think it makes any sense to send him.
See, golf, I think, is a great game. You can play professionally like a lot of our, kids are. And you can also play it recreationally. And every child is not going to become a golfer on the PGA circuit. That is something a parent must understand, I feel. There is talent, there is dedication, there is the self-fire that burns inside you to go and play golf. Now, saying that, if Indrajit, you will remember, Viraj also used to go and play soccer, right? When he was 8, 9, 10.
Right.
He would play soccer in school, and then he would go to Vivekananda Park to play cricket on twice a week. But then finally he thought that golf was where he really liked it. But really, like Vidya said, if he's 12, 13 years old and says, no, I don't want to play, want to go and play, and I don't want to practice, not enjoying it. Either you've got to make it fun for him to go back, enjoy the game, or you need to assess why he is saying that. But if you push him, he's just going to go further and further away.
Right. So there's a question. How does the data that you've kept from the age of 10 really help him? So, say you're keeping data from the age of 10. How will it help you when you're 14, 15?
It didn't. The way it helped us, Indrajit, the gentleman who asked, was that we realized that every year Viraj was taking off 2-3 shots on an average. So we knew there was progress as he, went ahead. We could actually look at his scores against scores of, his field in India itself. Now, what happens is, very simple, you don't want to be picking at 5 over when you're in, A division, and you won at 5 over when you're in B division. You've got to get better every time. And I feel like I always think that, numbers speak. You've got to get that your total number as low as possible. So it gave me an idea, because if you don't have it ready, a 72 looks the same as a 71. But in golf, one shot is all that it takes to win a tournament. So we kept these scores to understand how he progressed. Right from Indrajit, remember you helped us with that software.
True handicap.
Yes, where we could understand, how much, where the weakness was. Was he the driver was a weakness in terms of going left or right, or he, was it too many chip putts, or was he, greens in regulations. So we were able to analyze all this, and I think that stats was great help even for Viraj's coaches, because they could then focus on certain areas and make his program a very structured golfing program, which is most important also. I must say that when Viraj was growing up, Sundays was the whole day was with him. Other than the lunch that I would have with my parents, I would go back with him. I would walk the course with him, never interfering in what he did. Means if he took a 7-iron and he hit it short, I never said, oh, you should have actually taken a 6-iron to get the green. No, that is what he decided. That's what he understood. But so I was always there to, keep his spirits up, to understand what he's doing. When he was practicing, I would be there. I never told him that he was, you should do this with your club or do with that with the club. That is all what he works with the coach. But just being there, just think of it. For 2 hours, if a child has to keep hitting a ball and he has no one to talk to, it can be pretty difficult, especially for young children. So lighten the mood, keep him focused, applaud the great shots, was all that I thought was very, very nice. And believe me, it's great bonding between parent and child. You talk to him, you understand so much more about him. So coming back, the structure is very important. And I have seen when I would go with Viraj to the golf course, there were many kids who would come and play. They would come, they would all sit around for a while, they would chip putt a little bit. They say, uncle, we are going for a 9-hole, thing. They would go 9 holes and they'd be sitting on the 16th, Shamiana or somewhere. Some of them even smoking and, so these are things that we realize that by being there, you allowed the child to be more focused. You were able to spend time with him, and I've never regretted a single moment I did that.
Right. Mr. Mishra, I'm sure you would want to ask something.
Hello. Yeah. This question goes to Mrs. Madappa.
Yes.
Just wanted to know now, Anshul is at the age of 11 right now.
Yes.
And he's entering his teenage. So did you find any difference when he was at the age of 11 and when he entered to teenage? Was there any difference in Viraj? Any attitude or any way? What are the changes which you saw?
I think between the age of 12, 13, there are a lot of hormonal changes that happens in children. And with that, a little bit of behavior changes, a little bit of things. But I suppose for an athlete, when you're, when you have a structured lifestyle, it is contained a little bit. But there will definitely be changes in your game also. Isn't that true, Indrajit? During the time when you have hormonal changes?
Yeah, so you basically, at this age, the kids do tend to rebel a little bit. But I would just want to stress on one fact that the motivation factor is extremely important for the child to have. And I think all of you as parents realize that, if the child is not motivated, one of the most important factors that, you have to look into is to try and motivate your child. So there is no point in, dreaming for the child. I think that's extremely important.
And also, I think
just one more question that has come is, how expensive was college golf?
College golf is actually, if you get admission into a college golf is zero expenditure, considering that you have to pay for your education. So if you're on the golf team, you pay nothing specifically for the golf. They take care of everything, including your kit and everything. But then you have got to pay for the education. So if you go to a very good school where education is, let's say like a top 30, 40 school, it works to about $40,000-$50,000 a year, which is the education part of it. Golf comes with it. If you go to a lower end school, it could be 30,000-35,000. But that is what it costs to go to college. But then if you are a talented golfer, then it depends. The colleges actually give you scholarships, and the scholarships go from 0 goes up to 100%. And how it works out is that I think it is 8 times the college fees is given out to the golfing team. So generally a team has about 12 to 13 players, and if depending on talent, they allot funds to each player, depending on how much they want to get them. I must tell something that we learned is that if there are parents whose children who are girls are playing, it's a great opportunity to get a good education. If you want an education in the US and your child is playing golf, is to apply to a golf school, get admission, because girls teams are generally a little smaller. They are 8 to 9 players, and they also get 8 times the tuition fees. So a lot of these golfers in the US, the women golfers, are sponsored almost 100%. So the education becomes free, but you need to also play golf.
Right. So just one more question. So if someone gets 100% scholarship,
yes,
what is his expenses? So say someone gets 100% scholarship.
Viraj didn't have to spend a penny from his pocket when he went to the US.
For that matter, depends. They even give you spending money, pocket money.
He was paid to even travel. Had he stayed on for 4 years, he didn't have to spend any money,
Even coming back to India, they had actually given him 2 trips back to India. Plus, they would give him, I think, $200 a month as spending money over and above everything. And everything means food, stay, books, travel, anything and everything that you want, you will need as a student was given to you.
Right. Okay, so there's one interesting question. At what age did you get a fitness trainer, a nutritionist, and a mental coach for Viraj?
Well,
I think
fitness trainer, he was with, but until 12 or 13, we consciously didn't send him to a fitness trainer. At the age of 13, he started going to Ramadeep, and he was with him till he moved on to, to Tarun. So,
actually, they say that you shouldn't be doing weights and stuff like that for a growing child.
You can only do 4 exercises.
4 exercises, but then very important is a nutritionist. We as a family are careful about our food. So, early on, we even as a regular food, we have less sugar, less salt, less fried stuff and stuff like that, which is important. But really, answer your question, nutritionist, we did not go till
about
3-4 years back. But even to one thing to a fitness trainer, I think you need to be a little careful. You need to know someone who guides you through the golfing fitness. It's not about bulking up. A lot of these fitness trainers will bulk you up. You want to have bigger muscles. So you need to, that call you should take along with your golf coach to find a fitness trainer who gets you more, let us say, flexible, stronger. That would make sense. Then that came only around when he was 12, 13 years old.
Right, Mr. Mishra, any questions?
In fact, how does technology help in golf? Like, when did Viraj actually start using technology?
Okay, I think I'll answer that question. So we were always doing video classes with him, and in fact, Viraj's parents actually encouraged our academy to get the K West, and it's Viraj's father who helped us get the K West, and then we got the flight scope. So we were using technology with Viraj from quite an early age, and Of course, now with Tarun's Academy, they have state-of-the-art equipment. So I think Viraj was using whatever technology that was available in India right from his early age of 13. So if you remember, Mr. Madappa, you actually helped us get that KVS. Do you remember that?
I know. But Indrajit, what you said was absolutely correct. Overall, Mr. Mishra, technology is just an enabler for the coach to, show the student how things are working. You see, like Indrajit always told us, the swing happens in 0.2 seconds. So, it's only a very trained eye who can catch the difference that a coach can catch. So, technology cannot help you improve the game, but it enables you to understand what's happening. For that matter, Viraj continues to use the technology that Indrajit and Tarun has. He still has not got his own flight scope, which he's been wanting to buy one, once he's able to earn a little money. So that's what he's trying to do. But I don't think if there is no need to invest personally into technology, there is sufficient with our coaches in India to help with that. Isn't it, Indrajit?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one interesting question, then I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Mishra for a few more questions. This is a question which I think acts both ways. So, being a non-golfing parent, does it is it a disadvantage? I know you are a little bit of a golfer. Anshul's father is a golfer. But, what is the advantage, disadvantage of being golfing parents and non-golfing parents? What do you think?
Well, as a non-golfing parent, I travel with Viraj. I have traveled with Viraj extensively through his junior, days.
And one thing, and I think that is another important thing. The mother's role is also very, very important. We fathers tend to, and I think, I relate with people who have a little bit of thing with golf. We get a little extra, worked up if he misses a 2-foot putt or something like that. But that's where I feel mothers on the tour, and I'm sure, and I can perfectly vouch for Viraj's success being a big part of what Vidya has been able to do with him when he was playing in his early days, with the food, with his keeping him, calm, seeing that he was just right when he teed off. I just wanted to...
No, because...
I will just add before Vidya comes in that I've seen Vidya on the golf course watching Viraj, and she was always more tense than him, even though she put up a very brave face. But I saw the tension that she was going through, which I think we all parents go through.
Yeah,
so Vidya, can you just tell us a little bit about your experience with him on the tour?
Yeah, I have traveled with Viraj, I think 90% of his tournaments, and it's been a complete pleasure, through his growing years. Basically, the mother's role is to basically keep everything structured, make sure that the child has a disciplined routine, and he's ready for the game when it's time for him to tee off. And also, because I don't understand golf and I don't want to discuss golf with Viraj, our communication after the game is absolutely non-golf. So that way, his mind is off the game and it keeps him calm. And whenever he wants to have a discussion about his day's game, he comes forward and, confesses whatever happens on the course. But otherwise, from my side, I do not ask him anything. If it's a good day, I just, feel good about it. And if it's a bad day, I just ignore the game and just carry on the day as if it's been a normal day. Actually, it's very important for them to unwind when they are, out of the golf course. That's very important because then that's the only way they can get ready for the next round. There's no point, reliving what's happened on the course and making the child suffer. So keep it calm, keep it subtle, and keep everything ready for him, his food and his clothes and everything ready, so that he concentrates on the game and he moves forward the next day. That's the way it has been.
I think overall, being a non-golf parent has been easier.
Yeah.
Because I think being a golfing parent might, I'm not too sure, make it a little difficult for you to, not interfere a little more. And like I said, every child wants to really go out and do his best. So it's more important, and nothing's going to change drastically in his swing between a Wednesday evening and a Thursday morning. So it's how you manage that Wednesday evening. If he's had a bad Wednesday, that will show how he's played on a Thursday. And we have seen so many cases. Believe me, Viraj going shooting 6 over, 7 over, even on a I don't know if it's Wednesday, and then coming back and winning the tournament, because you'd come back and okay, Wednesday was gone. Never spoke about a single shot in that day. For that matter, if he wanted to speak, he himself would speak only of the good shots. And then Thursday it seemed like a completely different day altogether. So I think being a non-golfing parent has been a little easier for us.
Mr. Mishra, if you can ask him a couple of questions before I go to the other points.
Did he turn pro? Any major changes?
When Viraj turned pro,
Yes.
were there any major changes that you felt like when he was playing as an amateur and when he started playing professional? Like any major changes?
I don't
Or what
think
is the difference between playing as an amateur to playing as a pro?
I think playing as an amateur, one, because there's he was playing with his age, a little senior than him, was easier for him. But I remember the first time he went on the Noida golf course, his first tournament as a professional. He did say that he felt much more nervous, though he's played the golf course a number of times. But the first tournament, I suppose it was intimidating, playing with a lot of, because when you're playing the pro circuit, you're playing with people, in open categories. So the people who are 40 years, 50 years, and he was all of, I think, 19 years old when he turned pro. So it was a little intimidating. But after a few tournaments, I think he got used to the pressure.
I think by then, they're quite used to playing, though the professional circuit is a completely different ball game altogether. From going out and winning a cup when you're an amateur, and then going out and
trying to make money,
trying to make cut is a different mindset, which I'm sure people like Indrajit and Tarun would know for sure. But in how he approached his game, the dedication to it didn't change at all. I think by that time they are well, tuned. They also understand what it takes, what choices they have made. And if they made a choice to turn professional, I think I've seen most of them giving their 100% when they turn professional.
So also I'll just add here, the difference between amateur golf and pro golf is huge, because in pro golf, you could shoot 2 level par rounds and still miss cut. Whereas in amateur golf, you shoot 2 level par rounds and you have a chance to win the tournament. So the whole mindset changes. And, also just for all the parents, pro golf is so different. I have seen, especially, kids like Viraj who have had a graph which has been always on the up, and then you have 4 bad tournaments and you miss cuts and you're not used to being in that position. I've seen that with Arjun Atwal also. So, you've had a situation where you've never faced it before. You've never missed cuts in your life, and suddenly you miss 4 and you're not really playing that badly. So professional golf is a completely different ball game, and it teaches, youngsters to have a lot more patience. And, it's sometimes it's tough for golfers who've not seen failures or, temporary failures where they've not done well for 3-4 events. So it's a little difficult there.
Yes.
Okay, I think a couple of questions which have come. What do you do for Viraj's mental fitness, mental toughness?
Viraj he does a lot of yoga and meditation, which is helping him, in his game. he doesn't have a mental coach per se, but I think meditation is what he follows to keep his mind calm. And I think thrice a week he does yoga and meditation. And during a normal round, he does concentrate on meditation. I think for 20 minutes a day, he tries and meditates before the round, and sometimes if he has time after the round. So he's not very regular with it, but he tries hard to follow. I think yoga and meditation takes you a long way in keeping your mind calm and composed.
Okay, can you just tell us a little bit about Viraj's experience at the TSG, because that's a residential academy which is quite unique, and I strongly recommend that place for all the youngsters. So can you just talk about that place a little bit and how it's helped Viraj?
Viraj was about 16 years old when he was going through a rough patch, and for some reason he was not able to crack his game, and that's when Indrajit suggested, it was suggested by Indrajit that we take him to Tarun, because Tarun is a good friend of Indrajit.
I'll just chip in. This is where this is really the first time, like what Indrajit just mentioned, the first time he really had a severe dip in his game. He was mentally not there. He was physically not okay. And there was no real reason. Indrajit was there. He was at home. He was doing everything. But I think that changed. Indrajit suggested that maybe, Lord Indrajit told us he needs 2 new eyes to look at him. So then Indrajit suggested that he go to Tarun.
And this is where I think, Indrajit is very magnanimous in, how he sees his students. I think he wanted his student to progress more than, hang on to him, That is the magnanimity of Viraj. That he said that let him, let somebody else see him and let's see, how we can sort this issue out. And Viraj went to TSG, and what he liked there was it was a complete academy where it was a very structured program. And Viraj is a very disciplined child himself. So I think it's a combination of both. The academy being, it catered to everything under one roof. Yoga, fitness, nutrition, coach, everything. So that is what he liked about the academy. And since then, he's not there all the time, but when he's not traveling and he needs help from Tarun, then he spends a couple of weeks or, 2-3 weeks, and then goes on to his tournaments.
But if you ask me specifically about the TSG, I have not seen a golf academy as beautifully laid out
and well thought
about and designed in India, for sure. In terms of it having its own small golf course, a full 9-hole golf course, which will get expanded sometime, to a full driving range, good equipment on the driving range, housing, a nutritionist taking care of the food, having a good team to take care of your fitness.
Very, very disciplined and structured.
And the most important, Tarun is very disciplined. He is almost like Hitler. Children can use the mobile phone only for half an hour a day, and that's it. And if you go to the 31st minute, it is 6 days, no mobile phone.
Banned for 6 days.
So
a little harsh on the children, but I think the parents love it.
But then he is very strict. And the other thing about Tarun, and I must also say Roxar is Tarun's wife, they take care of the children very, very well. They're very concerned about the children. We see now, even though Viraj has rigged up a little net at the back of, on a little lawn that we have at the back, and he's hitting balls and stuff like that, still Tarun will call him up to say, did you do your meditation? Let's meditate together. What are you doing about nutrition? So he's very connected to the kids. So Viraj need not go back and stay there, but I know there is a connect. Like Vidya said, that structure has come back to him being able to get everything when he wants it. And I think that you will not get in any academy as such in India, whether it's Delhi, Bangalore, or Mumbai. So TSC for one is
And education.
And education. He also has he's connected to a school where they teach. And the other nice thing is that the children and the instructors do everything together, whether it is meals or it is sitting and having fun, whether it's a Saturday cricket match or a Sunday soccer match, they all do it together. So it's a very nice community. I think for that matter, at this point in time, 10 or 11 kids have been quarantined there for the last 45 days.
Right. Right. So, also a big advantage at the TSG is that they have their own school inside. So, the kids, especially the younger kids, can actually finish their, study there and get everything. Okay. So, Mr. Mishra, if you have any question, and then I'll ask him, I'll ask Viraj's parents. A lot of questions have just come in. So, Mr. Mishra, I think you can go ahead first.
As of now, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, so there are a couple of questions. One is, what are Viraj's hobbies other than golf?
Music. He loves music. And I'm trying to get him hooked onto Sudoku, but which we do together, father and son, every day. But he loves his music. There is not much more than, he gets time, but there are really no hobbies per se. But he loves his music. He watches a little bit of serials in the evening and loves his food. So that's how he spends his.
Do you have anything to say, Viraj?
So how did you manage to how did you plan his finances? I mean, once he decided to turn pro, obviously he needed support. So how did you plan his finances? And also, if you can talk about his sponsors, who have helped him in his journey.
I would say from the junior days, Titleist has been very supportive. Titleist selects players from the junior circuit to be part of the Titleist team. They don't have any specific contract with them, but at least to the extent they give you equipment, gear, which is clubs and balls. And they help you with fitting and stuff like that. And they have a very good representative in India that helps you with that. So Viraj started off that way. The IGU supported Viraj through Pro Touch Academy during his growing years. Then there is a whole lot of public sector undertakings that provide sports scholarships. These scholarships are between 12,000 rupees and 16,000 rupees. So, and per month. And the most prominent are the oil companies. So, whether it is BPCL, HPCL, Oil India, there's also the railways and the steel authority. But the oil companies support golf quite a lot. So, there are almost, I think, when Viraj was playing, there were almost, no more than that, maybe 10, 12 kids who were sponsored by the various oil companies. What they do is they not only give you a stipend, but they also give you a limited travel allowance. They give you money to travel, which is a flight ticket, and they give you a 2,500 per day, stipend for stay. Now, these are all very helpful. Once that happened, that's all that you can really manage as an amateur. The rest of it you have to fund yourself. As he turned professional, Titleist continued. He is now a player with the Titleist team. So what Titleist does is they provide everything that he needs to play golf, whether it's apparel or clubs or balls, shoes, t-shirts, everything. Plus, they give him a little stipend for playing well. So if he's a top 10, top 15, they give him a little stipend. Also, there are companies. Yes, Indranjeet?
No, also, I think Mr. Dilip Thomas has played a big role. I was wanted to mention Mr. Dilip Thomas because he's supported Indian golf like nobody else has, I think, in the history of Indian golf. So, little bit, if you can mention, how he came in.
Yeah, absolutely. So Titleist. So when he got his Asian card, there are certain organizations in India that support golf. And as Indrajit said, Mr. Dilip Thomas of AVT is perhaps one of the biggest supporters of Indian golf. He was very kind to actually send a feeler to us. We are very privileged. Viraj has been part of the AVT team for the last 2 years.
3 years.
And 3 years now. And the best part of Mr. Thomas is he's very non-interfering, never asks a single question. As long he has fixed an amount, and then you can spend to that level without any questions, including if you want any special coaching, which Viraj wanted to get. He was very, very generous. But one thing about him is you pick up the phone and ask him how much Viraj played in a particular round, he knows it. So he's very clued in, but very generous. Also, there is a group in Bangalore that supports Viraj, which is called the Go Sports Foundation. And they are preparing athletes and para-athletes to compete in the Olympics. And even Go Sports has been supporting Viraj a little bit. But other than that, these are the sponsors that Viraj has now, but there are other companies also who sponsor, and companies like Hero, which are big sponsors, and other companies in Calcutta and otherwise. But for that, we will really go and meet them and try and find out how they.
Okay, so there's a question that do you discuss course management strategies before Viraj goes out to play?
Courseman, not us. No, we don't.
We don't know golf.
I'm sorry, we are non-golfing, but Viraj will positively speak with his coach. And depending on if the coach is aware of the golf course, or Viraj would actually be talking to his coach every day after the practice round and talk about how to approach the golf course. And like Indrajit said, the professional course is, the professional tour is completely different. So where on an amateur circuit, you would say, well, we'll go for the green. But in a professional course, you may decide, professional tournament, you may decide, no, we'll not go for the green, we'll lay up and then go for the green, because it could be a potential double bogey to a par, and that could make a big difference. So these kind of strategies Viraj discusses with his coach only.
Okay, so one question. Did Viraj have, without taking names, did Viraj have any mental blocks about other players, or if other players were playing well, did it kind of put pressure on him, or did he feel nervous? Is there anything that you remember?
Not really.
I wouldn't say nervous, but
there are some players who are very slow players on the course, and there are players who are, a little different from him. He would
try and keep away from them.
No, but if you're put together in the same team group, you don't have a choice but to face it. These are battles on the course that the child has to learn to face. There are small irritants that would come up on the way of growing up. I think it's best for the child to face it.
And I think the other thing is that golf is one sport where you play against yourself. So somehow we have to make our child feel comfortable in his space. Do you remember there was a time when there used to be a player who would beat Viraj in every tournament? There was a year, I think Viraj came second in 6 tournaments, and that boy came first in all 6 tournaments.
Right.
So, and the score difference would be 1 shot, 2 shots, and the third would be 10 to 14, 15 shots away, you see. So initially he would say, Dad, why is it not happening? But I think Viraj walked through that. He got more determined, and the very next year, Viraj won every tournament that he played on the the IGU circuit, beating this player quite comprehensively. Let me put it that way. So he got to help the child not to get into such a mold. He plays against himself. He needs to give out his best on the course.
Right. So this is a question for both the Madappas as well as the Mishras. What do you think about, the media attention the children get? Because I'm not talking about Viraj now, but I'm talking about Viraj when he was a junior. And this is for even Mr. Mishra, Anshul also gets a lot of attention. So I'd like, you to say that, what do you think about it, about the media attention? Because see, we as parents love to see our children, I'm happy to see my son in the papers, but how good or bad is it actually for that? I mean, for that to happen?
I think most of Viraj's growing up time, when he would come in the papers, I don't think it bothered him, and he was not even interested, I should say.
He actually underplayed it a lot.
And Viraj wouldn't even look at the papers, for his name to be up there. He was.
So what is your advice to parents? I mean, I know a lot of parents also
I think a child has to be a child in his home. I think you just have to treat him as a child and not as a star. And even if the media is there, you just need to, as a parent, you need to underplay it.
You need to keep it grounded,
Yeah, Mr. Mishra, what do you think? What is your thought process?
What I feel is it is very important for a child to be grounded. And for that, media attention should be absolute negligible. I don't like the attention, basically, like whatever little attention that Anshu gets. If you ask me personally, I don't like it. He should be left on his own to grow up, have his own personal space, and enjoy the game.
Absolutely. I agree with Mr. Mishra.
So, Mr. Mishra, do you have any questions? There are 3-4 questions that we will take, and then
yes, I would like to. I wanted to ask.
Yeah, like, sure.
When Viraj was a junior or as an amateur, one of the parents must have definitely been traveling with him. So, at any point of time, did you feel that Viraj wanted to be left alone since he was getting into, or he was already a teenager, so he wanted to be left alone with his friends rather than traveling with the parents and all?
See, I'll tell you about Viraj's growing up time when he had a very fixed routine, and there are courses which used to be very far from where we stayed. So when we would be in the car on the way to the golf course, he would not speak a word in the car. There are days when he just wouldn't want to just speak a word. That was a time when he would get into his zone. And I think you need to respect that in a player. Just let him be comfortable. And he might be just listening to music or whatever. But there are days when he just wouldn't want to talk a word. And just after the game, when the days are good, it's good. But when the days are bad, he would just, come, eat his food, and just sometimes just spend a few minutes with his friends, and then go back to the golf course to practice wherever he didn't do well. There would be times when a child doesn't want to be with you, but I think as a parent, you must be mature enough to understand that he needs a little space, and just let him be.
I think you need to be aware of what's happening, but you also would need to give him a little space. But I think ultimately, I'm sure Viraj went through this also, but ultimately came back and said, it is actually nice to have you guys, because he gets so much of the rest of it is done for him that when he goes on the course, he's very, very comfortable. Actually, for that matter, it's very unusual. We still, even as a professional, we try, though he plays 20, 21 tournaments every year, we try and do 5-6 tournaments with him, at least, or at least I try and do 2 or 3. And believe me, they are the most wonderful weeks that I've been having. To the extent that he says, Dad, I know it's good to be with the guys, but it's also fun to be with you all because everything gets taken care of. And I get on the course, it's so comfortable. So even
and it's very lonely on the course.
It's a very lonely
It's a very lonely life. So, one thing I want to tell all the parents that it might look very, very glamorous now, during junior days, you're traveling, you're staying in a hotel, you're having fun. But being a professional golfer is a very, very tough call. And one has to be completely prepared mentally, physically, in all manners. And it just looks very rosy from outside, but it's a very tough life, to be an athlete and to be on the tour 30, 40 weeks in a row, in a year. So one has to be prepared to take, that leap.
So when did Viraj, which was Viraj's first tournament where he traveled alone, and at what age? Do you remember? Or around what time?
Maybe.
Viraj, actually, either I traveled with him or he lived with some family friends. He never actually lived on his own in a hotel with friends. We didn't.
As a junior, never.
No, we didn't do it.
Right. Okay. So there's an interesting question. How do you satisfy yourself that the coaches Viraj is working with is, are working hard enough, or the desired progress is there? So what do you tell parents regarding, being happy with the coaches? What is your take on this?
I don't think we as parents know much about the game. So I think it's between the child and the coach. And we can only, I think...
Then I think if there is honesty in this, Indrajit, the child and the coach have to feel good about working together. The results have to show. And ultimately, if there's honesty, you will find that the child will come back and say, Dad, I was hitting 4 under when I was here and still hitting 4 over and I'm still hitting 4 over. Things are really not improving. Something needs to be done. Maybe it's getting a structure. Maybe it's getting physically stronger. So I think it's very difficult for parents to make a call.
The coach's contribution can only be that much. It is the hard work and the discipline of the child, which is more important, I think.
No, so this is an interesting question which I'll ask both the parents. What should be the relationship? The trust factor between parents and coaches, because that's something that you'll find some parents coach hopping, whereas some kids have been with coaches. So what should be, what do you think the relationship should be between parents and coach? I'm not talking about the player and the coach. I'm talking about parents and coach.
Last 12 or 13 years that I've traveled with Viraj.
Trust me.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
No, the last 12 or 13 years that I've traveled with Viraj, I have seen a lot of players jump from one coach to another, and there's no end to it. And I haven't seen many of them being very successful. Let me tell you, very clearly. You need to trust your coach.
I think
you need to have a relationship with your coach. You need to believe, in yourself and in your coach. That's very important.
I think a parent and a coach should have what I feel a 100% trust, that the coach is doing the best for my child. And then the child should feel comfortable working with the coach. Now, if the child doesn't feel comfortable, you should have a bridge with your child for him to come and tell you. But I don't think we should as parents, take a call on whether the coach is good, bad or ugly.
I've seen a lot of parents jumping from one coach to another, and I don't think it has helped many of them. Most of them, I think. That is not the solution. The solution is somewhere else.
So when I traveled with Udayjit as a parent, and I, sat in the 19th Shamiana, I actually started running away from there because, hearing parents' conversations, it was like the coaches were playing a tournament and not the children, because every parent was saying, "Oh, my son's coach and your son's coach, and that boy's coach, that boy's playing so well. Who's his coach?"
Right.
So it's more like the coaches were playing a tournament, and I found it quite amusing myself. So I just thought I'll add that. Mr. Mishra, what do you think should be the relationship between you and the coach?
I completely agree with Mrs. Madappa. As she's mentioned, it doesn't make sense for a parent to go coach hunting. It is very important that we should trust the coach, give them time, and the child and the coach should be left to do their job and enjoy. That's it. It is
Right.
not
So,
like, if you ask me personally, I never interfere with whatever little bit that Anshul has been able to do. I never interfere with his golf.
right. So, just Mr. Mishra, one question. Now Anshul obviously is working with Jesse, but Anshul worked a lot with Rukmani. So, do you guys still communicate and keep in touch about Anshul's golf? Mr. Mishra, are you there? I think we may have lost him. Okay, so just a couple of questions from the people who are watching. Mr. Madappa, this is for both the Madappas actually, both mom and dad. Did you give rewards to Viraj when he played well, or was he given like that if you do well, you're going to get this or something of that sort?
No, I don't think we ever did that. The best, everything was, I think he was, I don't think we ever...
Only once when he went for an Asia Pacific tournament in...
No, that was his...
Yeah.
He wanted.
He wanted.
Actually, the only time he said we went for Asia Pacific, for the first Asia Pacific, we went to Thailand. Viraj was not a part of the Indian team. I think you D category. Remember, Indrajit, you did a request, and then the IGU decided to give a slot only, and then we personally.
That's right.
And then Viraj, it was close to Viraj's birthday or something. So he says, Dad, if I get a trophy, then will you get me a Game Boy? So,
okay.
And lucky, he played well. It was the only two people who are not part of the official team that got trophies that day. Ankur Chadda and Viraj. So that was the only time I think he actually
asked for something. I don't think
I think he was very motivated, and that the trophy for him was most important. When he got that trophy, he felt good about it.
Okay, so I have one last question, then we'll ask Mr. Mishra if he has. So there's a question from parents. How much should we push our children?
You should not push your children, I think.
Don't push him at all.
I think if he is meant to play golf, he has to be self-motivated. The urge has to come from within him. Him or her. I don't think we as parents will put them at a disadvantage if we push.
See, I think we should make it fun for them to be there. We should motivate him enough to go play golf. Then it all depends on the child. How much they put in. And like Vidya said, it's very, very tough. Even as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, I'm sure Mr. Mishra will agree with us. It's not easy for Anshul to study and play golf. And even children have their own aspirations, right? He wants to go and win the tournament. So he wants to give more time to golf, but he knows he has to go and study also. So they will find their path. But the best that we should do is motivate. Best we should do is give them an environment that, and an ecosystem where they can really bloom. And there, I think it's very important for us parents. We've got to be disciplined.
We should have a structured program at home for them, a healthy environment for them to blossom. I think that's what we as parents can do. Pushing is not the answer to...
It's not going to happen. Indrajit, there have been so many amazing players who've been pushed and they've been pushed out of golf.
Yeah, that's true. I won't take names, but I've seen at least 3 or 4 careers completely get destroyed because the parents, I think, started living the children's dreams. So I don't think that's a great idea. So, Mr. Mishra, anything that you want to say before we finish off, or any questions that you have?
You want to? Yeah, I just want to mention that, as Mr. Madappa rightly said, it is the child is basically managing the studies and golf, or for that matter, any sport. It takes a lot of time, and we should give a congenial environment for the
Absolutely.
children to bloom and
Yeah.
basically do their own things in a disciplined manner. And discipline is very important.
Right.
Time management is very important. And that is what we should be inculcating in the child rather than pushing towards any particular goal.
And also, and there's one more thing I want to say, Indrajit, is that, at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, your child is not a sports person, you see. Do you remember Viraj as an 8, 9 year old? He was wider than what he is today. so, so it's not necessary that he has to be very fit. His swing has to be perfect. He has to get up at 5 o'clock. So I think we've got to let them live their lives as kids, and they will find a way. If they feel that golf is where it's going, they feel good about it, automatically things happen. Today,
Here I want to add on something. A lot of parents come and ask me, are you putting in so much time and effort on your child's golf? He doesn't become a golfer. I would tell them that these are the years where he's learning to build a character for himself. I think golf teaches you a lot of character. Even if he doesn't become a golfer, he will become a good human being with a wonderful character. That is more important for a parent, I think. I think 1 out of 100 children become golfers. 1 out of 100 golfers on the tournament, junior golf, one become a PGA golfer, I think. That we all should realize and move forward. Not every golfer who's playing the junior circuit will become a PGA golfer.
It's actually, I don't know, I'm sure you will figure out, between the ages of 8 and 12, when Viraj was playing golf, how many of them are still playing golf on the professional circuit?
I mean, pretty much none, I think.
None.
Maybe 1 or 2 at the most.
So actually we were shocked because there were some very, very talented boys and girls.
So junior golf, you should give only that much importance. I think we need to give importance to the basic disciplining, the basic things like discipline, behavior on and off the course. These are things the parents should put emphasis on. The game will improve and will happen. And if he has to become a golfer, he or she will become a golfer. There's no point parents pushing. I think we have to emphasize their behavior, their discipline, and their character. That's more important than.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add something here, and then we'll be finishing off. The children need to grow as children. I don't like seeing 11, 12, 13-year-old children behaving like professional golfers. I would like the children to behave like children and, have their childhood. It's too much of a risk to let a child lose his childhood because there is some dream that you're trying to play out. And it's extremely important, children. So just one last word from both the set of parents is, how does it feel? I'll ask this to Mr. Mishra, and then finally we'll ask the Madappas. How does it feel to be, addressed as Anshul's father? Your identity in the club is more Anshul's father than actually, you as Mr. Mishra. How does it feel?
So definitely, I have probably lost my own identity, at least in the club, because of Anshul. So it definitely feels good. But I cannot pass it on to the child. It is very important that I have to filter it out and keep it within myself so that it is not passed on to him, and he has to be grounded. He cannot have that air.
Right. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on this chat. So PK and Vidya both, I have seen you, especially Vidya, I think I've seen her from maybe my teens.
I've seen Indrajit grow up. So
So you're not that old, Vidya. You're just a few years older than me, I think. Uh, so I just want you to uh, just finish off with something that you want to tell all the parents, as well as being known as Viraj's parents.
Question from Tarun sir. This question is from Tarun sir. Tarun sir apparently has a question just flashed on the screen.
Okay. Okay, I'll just check on that question and we'll finish off with that. So once you are done with the word,
I think it is a very proud feeling for us, when we hear nice things about Viraj, and when we hear the positives about his behavior and the way he conducts himself. I think that is more important than him winning a trophy. I think him being a good human being, grounded, being compassionate, the way he treats the caddy, the way he treats the people around him, the way he treats his fellow players. That's more important than him being a champion. I think that is where, as parents, we feel very proud and privileged to have him as a son.
Okay, I think Tarun has asked a question. It's very nice of him. I know why he's asked the question, but I'm going to twist that question a little bit, and then we'll finish off. Is obviously Viraj, started out with the Pro Touch and with me, and then he moved on to Tarun. So can you just tell us a little bit about how the transition happened? Of course, I'm still a mentor to Viraj, and we still speak quite a bit. But if you can just talk about little bit on the transition, right from where he started off and now that he's with Tarun. So just a little bit, and then one final word from you, and we will end it there. So we won't come back to you.
I think we were lucky in you suggesting Tarun, and you and Tarun having a very good professional rapport, and I think Tarun picked up from where you had left. So the transition in that regard was a lot easier. What he got at TSG was what we were talking about. Once he went into a golfing ecosystem where everyone thought, ate, drank, and did golf. And also Tarun's methodology was a lot about being structured, which is something that Viraj has enjoyed as a child. He always, even when he studied, he would say, I have 2 hours of studies, I've got to get this done. So it fitted him very perfectly. So I think, just as, Viraj enjoys and also appreciates the input he gets from you, he works very well with Tarun in terms of what his style should be, what his goals should be. He likes everything being in its place in TSG. So the transition has been actually very smooth, and I think it's been more credit in that transition should go to you and Tarun for making it not difficult for Viraj. Otherwise some coaches can really say that, what you learned the day before yesterday was all rubbish. You basically need to do this now. And I think that's what Tarun did not do, and slowly got him to see the benefits of training little differently in a different style. I think that's worked well for Viraj, and it's proven because I think the combination of you being the mentor, Tarun being there, and Viraj being able to perform has really helped Viraj get more disciplined, both with his golf and his eating and the way he's looking at his game. So I think we are very lucky that way.
Right. So thank you so much for coming on. We've already gone like an hour and a half. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll be sharing this video with everybody. Thank you so much. So we are ending the session here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra.
And all the very best to...
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Madappa, for sharing your valuable insights. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
If anybody wants any information, we are more than happy
please let us know, because
share our experiences.
Yeah, especially with more details about, the ITU tours, the amateur tours, and going professional, whether it's America or not, we are most happy to talk to kids and parents and guide them. So our number is available with Easy. Just pick up the call, and if you're in Calcutta, it's very easy. We can meet. If it's not in Calcutta, we'll be happy to talk on the call.
And all the very best to all the children, and let them enjoy their golf journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.